All right, guys, so January is officially over, and with my goal of reading one book every 2 weeks, we crushed a little over 2 books. I'm halfway through a third book. I am including that third book in this report though. So every month I'm gonna do a book report video where I break down all the books I read. So like what I learned, what I liked, what I didn't like, and how things apply to my life, etc. So the main goal here is that, yes, I can like provide some book recommendations, like I can maybe surface some of the lessons that I've got for you guys watching, but like mainly this is for me. It's to hold myself accountable to this goal that I've set for myself, and to actually stop and like reflect and digest on what I'm reading and actually think about what I'm taking away from these books and how I can actually apply things to my life, rather than just like in one ear, right out the other, like going through the motions of reading, which like, I think if you're like reading this kind of like volume can definitely happen, at least from my experience. And before we dive into like what the books are, like just for this is the first video, I just want to show you guys like there's gonna be no like Amazon affiliate links for any of these and stuff. I know like it's super easy. I could just pop those in the description and like maybe get some affiliate, whatever. But like I don't care about like making a few bucks off of my audience from like affiliate links for books and stuff like that. That's not at all what I'm doing this about. I understand like people do that and it's a normal thing, but I don't know, like when I'm watching like a YouTube video and then someone's like, get the link in the description, I know that's like how lots of people make money off their channel and stuff like that, but for me it just feels like a little bit like ingenuine. Like all of the people that I like to watch, like they're all obviously selling something. Like I'm doing this, like I love doing it and stuff, and I'm like the whole like being able to share this experience of like the journey that I'm on, but ultimately I would like to build an audience and market like for my business for Sway to sell in the future. And so like people that I watch that I really enjoy, like Nick Bear, for example, he started off when he was in the military documenting his like workouts and stuff to sell his supplements, to sell for Bear Performance Nutrition. And I know when I'm watching that, he's like showing me his products and he wants me to buy them. But at the same time, he's so passionate about his products that like I want them, I want to buy them. I don't care that he's like pushing them to me. He's giving me so much free value and entertainment that it's completely worth it, and it makes total sense, and I applaud people for doing that. Another one is Chris Bumstead. Like he puts out very good content. I watch all of his videos and he's like selling stuff. He's selling his supplements, he's selling his app and stuff like that. But at the same time, they're not trying to just wring out a buck. There's a big difference. There's no ever like any, like they don't do sponsorships really. There's no like affiliate links, all that kind of bullshit. They're just doing that to keep building what they're passionate about. And so that's exactly what I'm doing here too. So I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way before diving in. And I apologize for my voice still. I've literally been saying this for months, but I have been up and down sick for months. So that's what it is. So with that kind of preamble out of the way, let's dive into the books. So first book I read was Titan, The Life of John D. Rockefeller Sr. by Chernow. It's a pretty thick book. I really, really enjoyed most of this book. And I actually stopped like 100 or maybe even like 200 pages short of finishing the book. And I don't normally do that. I highly recommend this book. The only thing was like the last 200 pages was just really breaking down like his philanthropy and just kind of like battles with the law for like the monopoly that was Standard Oil. And like all that was interesting like the first few times it came up, but I wanted to go and read other books rather than just learning about his philanthropy and all that stuff. But that didn't take away from the book at all for me. So as with other biographies, like a really cool thing to take away from this is just like seeing who's someone who ended up in such like a position of success and power, just seeing like how they thought and acted across the span of their life, like all the way from their childhood all the way to like the end of their years, and like even in the middle when they're like going through trials and tribulations and like starting to see success and stuff like that. And a big thing is it like causes me to reflect on my own life, on myself, like through my years as I've grown up, where I'm at in the story of my life, like how I'm acting. Is this in alignment where I see myself in a few years? Because you're able to look at like how someone was acting 10 years prior and then when they actually had their success. You're able to see all of that and kind of compare your own life story to that. And I think that's one of like the really big benefits from actually reading biographies, is like being able to understand that your life is a story. Like it's not just like today, tomorrow, this week, even this year. Like this is just one chapter into a long story that has so many moving pieces. And like ultimately you want to understand that so you don't get bogged down by the bad things, don't get too high and spin out off of the good things. You need to understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And reading someone else's life in a story makes you just think twice about things that you're doing and think about if your life was going to be put down as a story in the future, which hopefully we're all super successful, and it is. And just like how that would play out if like your grandkids are reading this down the line, your children. So for some like more specific things that I took away from the book, I really liked learning about the value that he placed on money. Like he was very thrifty, very respectful of money, and just like fully in control of it. And so this was something that like showed up big time, like at a young age for him. And then he carried it on like throughout his entire life and career. And so like this kind of like this respect of money and allowed him just always like, he had giant cash reserves, which allowed him to take on so many more risks and basically just annihilate all of his competitors. And so reflecting on my own situation, this was something I was like very good at a young age. Like in like early high school, reading all like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Wealthy Barber, all this stuff. Like I was working jobs in high school, like paying for my car, pulling in money, and then just like investing stuff. And I built up a very good like stock portfolio just in high school from that. Like after I graduated, like that first summer I was working like 3 different jobs, 2 serving jobs, 1 job pumping gas, everything made tips, everything that I could, I just threw into investments. And I budgeted very well, even when I went to university and continued working. But just where I was like, had such a chaotic life over the past few years, things kind of got ahead of me. I overextended in some things, not like terribly at all by any means, but just like I could probably be in more control, be thriftier, make a few better decisions, and just kind of be in a more optimal position. Anyway, just kind of like reading about that in this book really helped me to kind of like reground and kind of like get back to like the mindset that I kind of like steeped myself in for personal and business finance when I was younger. And a second big thing I took away from reading this was his coolness and overall like calculated and confident nature. He seemed never to give into anger, overwhelm, or chaos, never like oversharing, bragging, or talking about what he will do. He just like quietly, confidently executed on his plan. And so that's something I really want to make a point to emulate in my own life. And I also just learned a lot about like cool history from like the 1850s to the 1900s, a lot about like the railroad industry, the oil industry. It's very, very cool. And then a lot about like monopolies and like the antitrust laws and how all of that came to be in the whole situation there. It's very, very cool. And just something about like reading like business books from this time just makes you want to like put on a suit, a pea coat, and just like go out and just take on the world. So anyways, would definitely recommend this first one. This is Titan, The Life of John D. Rockefeller, Sr. So on to the next book, we have Total Recall, My Unbelievably True Life Story. This is by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So out of the books that I read in January, this was by far my favorite. And I bought this after I listened to all 3 of the podcasts on Arnold on the Founders Podcast by David Senra. And if you don't already listen to the Founders Podcast, I highly recommend that you start immediately. It's amazing. So it's by David Senra. So the biggest benefit that I got from this book was seeing someone so clearly define their exact goals and then ruthlessly executing like day over day to achieve them. And so that's exactly what Arnold did. So as a kid, he was like exposed to some very like influential figures for him. I think one that he like saw in the magazines and stuff was Reg Park, who was, I think he was like Mr. Universe at that time or something. And then he had gone from like the UK moved to America, he played Hercules, got super famous, super rich, and then he was living on a giant estate in South Africa. And so Arnold saw that as a kid and was like, fuck, that's sick. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get jacked, I'm gonna go into movies, I'm gonna move to America and be a businessman. It's kind of cool, it's like exactly what he did. But like I could relate to that as well, as like when I was 15 or just younger, like every single thing that like you see that's like inspiring to you, you tend to like extrapolate that into some like grand ultimate goal. Like for example, I like got into, with one of my friends, we got really into like learning about like astrophysics and stuff like that. Instead of just being like, oh, this is cool, nice hobby, I was like, I'm doing astrophysics in university, I'm gonna discover these things, I'm gonna do all this shit, and just immediately you're like thinking grand about everything. So that was something like looking back, I really like got to reflect on and like appreciate about myself. Yeah, I really enjoyed reflecting on that, and I appreciate like the drive and vision that my younger self had, and it's very inspiring for me to like keep working my ass off every single day to get exactly where that little kid wanted to go, and to just make myself proud and keep executing on like the mission I've set down for myself a long time ago. Another thing was his work ethic and ability to like take on many things at once and just plow through it all. And the pride that he took from that really gave me some pride in myself and what I've done so far. It also gave me like some sense of relief, like a green light to keep like operating how I'm operating. Like sometimes I'll get in my own head and think like, am I like pushing too hard? Am I like sacrificing other things that I might like look back and regret? And like this is when I start to feel any kind of burnout or stress and stuff, is when I start to go down that rabbit hole of questioning things, not when I'm like actively aligned with my mission and knowing exactly what I'm doing. That's when I'm at my happiest and kind of like my best self. So it was nice seeing someone who's like at the, like he's writing this came out in like 2012 maybe, so I have no clue how old he was. He's probably in his 50s then, I would say. But just someone at that point in their life reflecting on everything and every single bit of their life and being like, I fucking crushed it. I was sick. So that was really inspiring. A good quote that he keeps bringing up in this, I think he got it from Ted Turner. I forget what Ted Turner started. It's like some media empire, something, maybe a news, I don't know what it is. But anyway, very successful guy. But anyway, he got this from Ted Turner. And the quote is, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. So basically just stay consistent, work your ass off, and then make sure that you advertise and promote the hard and great work that you're doing. And so that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Go to bed early, get up before 5 a.m. every single morning, work my ass off, and then I'm making sure that I'm advertising, I'm documenting what I'm doing and promoting what I'm doing. I also love bodybuilding and powerlifting, and it was really cool reading about like it really like was not a giant thing when he was starting out, and he really popularized it. So it was really cool like reading about his experience of like learning about it and getting into it when it was more so like the Wild West. And it gave me kind of a renewed sense of like excitement and enjoyment for the gym. And something I've held as like a very high value for myself for a while, and something I've really respected in Arnold, is that like duality of being able to be like insanely jacked, like an absolute like beast in the gym, and then also be insanely successful and well-rounded as like a businessman and just a man in life. Overall, this book is like very easy to read. It's very naturally written. It's basically like you're sitting down and Arnold is just like directly telling you a story. It's super easy to like forget that you're even reading, and you're like, holy shit, I've just read like 100 pages. Where did the time go? So it's quite a like inspirational and motivational book as much as it is entertaining. It just adds more excitement and zest for life to like build and achieve more and just like overall live fully. So I highly recommend picking this up. That was Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the last book that I read, I actually read it on my phone. I don't have a physical copy to hold up. It's called At Your Best by Casey N, let's say. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So there's nothing like super groundbreaking in terms of like new information that I didn't like already know before, but it was nice to kind of go back through this stuff, and it forced me to like take a look at my life, at my day-to-day, and like ask myself some like difficult questions and face some like kind of uncomfortable realities. Like how day to day, I feel like I'm under like more stress than I need to be, and sometimes feel like I'm going a little bit crazy. Like sometimes I end up very drained, can maybe be a little bit prickly at times. And like this does not come from overwork. It comes from like being spread too thin and pulled in too many directions, and like not prioritizing and being able to have the clarity on the things that actually matter the most to me. I get more so in that state when I'm kind of sucked away from like my direction and purpose in life. So it really reaffirmed my practice of like giving the first few hours of my day to myself to work on like what matters most to me when I'm actually at my best in the day. Because then like once I finish that period, I need to go on with the rest of my day. I have to go into the office. I have to work on stuff I don't necessarily want to work on. It feels like I'm getting pulled away from my mission. And that's a lot easier to bear when you've actually prioritized and given that time to yourself earlier on. And as I continue to like work and grow, my life will be like more aligned with what I love to do, and this stress will start to fade. But in the meantime, I can do every single thing that's in my control to make sure that I'm at my best for the maximum amount of time. I think people can like confuse this with like needing to relax more or take it easy. But like taking your foot off the pedal like that, when instead of just like figuring out the things that you need to do and maybe restructuring your priorities a little bit, that's when things can get worse. Like that's when you can feel your dreams like start to slip away. You can kind of feel yourself getting trapped on a life path that isn't necessarily meant for you, or what you've had pictured for yourself, or what you've dreamed about. Instead, this means being extra disciplined. It means meal prepping for the week on Sunday. It's packing your lunch, your gym clothes, your work computer the night before, getting up early at the time you said you would to prioritize what matters most to you. It's meditating to stay grounded. It's chipping away consistently at building your business. It's getting in the gym to build a body that you're proud of. It's making the most of the time when you're even at the office. Because even if you're not building the thing you want to be building, you can still build your skills while you're there. And if you're not building skills, you can at least practice and build your capacity for focus. You can be proud of how you executed that day. And you're able to carry that momentum into other things. It means eating supper on time after work and taking the time to like talk and connect with your partner if you have one, instead of binge watching TV until you guys go to bed. It's winding down properly at night, going for a walk to reflect and digest the day. It's stretching before bed to keep your body nice and healthy, and reading to keep your mind healthy and expanding. It's all of these things that compound together that then by the time the weekend rolls around, like say it's Friday night, like this happened this week, I absolutely crushed it this week. All these things that I was talking about, I was so consistent with all of it. Friday rolls around and my friends are like, hey, wanna hang out? And oftentimes, like, say I didn't execute well, I'd have this anxiety about like, be like, no, I can't, I need to like, I gotta stay in tonight, I gotta get up extra early tomorrow. But I was like, absolutely crushed it. Now I can I get to go hang out with my friends, spend some good time, and just like, I feel good. I'm proud of myself after this week. I can go and hang out and just kind of recharge my battery and like decompress a little bit. I've earned it. So those are the things that are in our control. This leaves no stone unturned and just keeps energy like flowing freely. Yeah, so that was At Your Best by Casey N. I apologize, Casey, that I can't pronounce your last name. But yeah, guys, that's the first book report for January. I don't know how long this video will be. I feel like I yapped for a while, so let me know your thoughts if you guys like this. I'll continue it. It's a nice thing to like hold me accountable to actually reading all these books and, like I said, reflecting and digesting and trying to break it down instead of just reading in one ear and out the other just for the sake of reading. So thank you guys, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.